And leadership is just not taught in school. And so what I realized is all of those things that I was experiencing, all of the exhaustion, the burden, the responsibility actually made me into a person that I wasn't always supposed to be. I I feel like I wasn't my best during many of those years, especially when I was pregnant and going through bodily changes, hormonal changes, and then I was experiencing stress at work. There was just a lot that I was going through. I was unconsciously going through my life and I wasn't in alignment. I wasn't being who I truly was. And I was almost getting a lot of feedback every single day about how people didn't like how I was showing up in the world. Well, hello there, beautiful friends of the universe. Welcome back to the University of Why podcast, a podcast that is truly a reflection of you or me. I'm your host, Dr. Sonia Chopra, and together, this is where we're going to ask the big questions. We're going to explore our core motivations behind our choices, the purpose behind our pursuits, and the beliefs that shape who we truly are. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about leadership and how I came into being the leader that I am today. And just as my early days in my career was a struggle and how I worked my way through burnout, that burnout was actually what made me understand who I was as a leader. And again, I always say my burnout was my awakening and it really taught me so much. And I'm kind of through that storm now. And so now it is easy for me to look back and reflect on those things and be able to understand why I had to experience them, why it had to be a part of my journey. But before we go into that too much today, I just want to show you the new space. So this is part of upgrade number one. I know if you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, you know that I kind of just started this during a time that I probably wasn't ready, which I think is amazing. I'm glad that I did it when I wasn't ready. I was in the middle of a move. I actually had to move out of my home to renovate. And then I was living at my parents' house forever. It took almost 4 months for the renovation to be complete. And then I went back to my old house. That old house has since sold, but I've been building my dream home ever since, like for the past 3 years. And I decided to take the plunge on this podcast before I was actually ready, before this space was ready. And even right now, this space is actually not 100% ready, but I'm just so happy to be in this new place. So if you are listening while you're driving and the audio version of this, know that I'm in a new space that feels a lot more like me, a lot more aligned to me. And it's exciting, but again, it's still not even finished. So, but I just wanted to introduce you to this new space. So if you're watching on YouTube, you actually see it's a little bit of an upgrade from where I've been coming to you from. And it's going to just continue to get better and better. So I love the fact that I took the plunge and decided to do these things before I was actually ready, because now I just feel better. So if you're thinking about doing something that you're not ready for, just do it. And hopefully it just continues to grow and get better for you. Okay. So today's topic that I want to talk about is, I think, really important because my burnout taught me so many things. And it was really what made me open my eyes to who I really was. Being in a burnt out position is like, it's just a sign that you're out of alignment with who you really are. And I think that it's really important to also acknowledge that things like leadership and managing people and those kind of things that come with things like running your own business or being a dental practice owner, and leadership is just not taught in school. And so what I realized is all of those things that I was experiencing, all of the exhaustion, the burden, the responsibility actually made me into a person that I wasn't always supposed to be. I I feel like I wasn't my best during many of those years, especially when I was pregnant and going through bodily changes, hormonal changes, and then I was experiencing stress at work. There was just a lot that I was going through. I was unconsciously going through my life and I wasn't in alignment. I wasn't being who I truly was. And I was almost getting a lot of feedback every single day about how people didn't like how I was showing up in the world. That might have been from my team or from my family, my husband. And all of that feedback came to me, and some of it was hurtful, some of it was truth, but it was all something that I needed to hear to kind of come into my own awareness of how I really was showing up in this world. And there was a time where I felt like people wanted me to change so bad that I felt like when I was trying to change, I was losing myself. And there were things and qualities and characteristics about myself that I didn't really want to change about myself, that I truly loved about myself, that I felt like made me uniquely me. And it was really hard for me to change those things because they were so uniquely me. And so as I started going down this leadership path and started to understand myself as a leader, I started to uncover these things. So when I was younger, I always connected to the fact that I'm a Sagittarius. I'm like every description I ever read about a Sagittarian, I'm like, heck yeah, that's me, right? Every time I would read my horoscope in the newspaper, it would actually match what I experienced that day. Like I just always resonated with the fact that I was a Sagittarian. Does that make sense? I don't know if any of you out there are connected to astrology, but I've always been. And I've never really thought anything of it until now that I'm in my 40s. And one of my first experiences into understanding all the personality types in my practice was learning how to use the DISC assessment. Some people have heard of DISC, some people use Myers Briggs. There's a whole bunch, but for me in my practice, we use the DISC assessment, and I find it to be relatively easy. And that was my other kind of journey into the other side of things when it came to really understanding personalities in the workplace. But they're so connected, the whole zodiac part, the DISC assessment. And then once I started to uncover these two things, I realized that there was so much more. So as I'm starting to understand myself as a leader, just trying to become the woman that I am or really understand the woman I have always been, right? I uncovered my astrology. I uncovered my DISC assessment. I uncovered my human design, which was really unique. I'm like, what is this human design? And I also uncovered my Enneagram. And as I'm learning these things, I'm going to talk a little bit about each one today. And hopefully you guys really resonate with it too. And you don't find it woo, because it's really not woo. I feel like it's almost like where soul meets science. And that's kind of the area in the universe I like to live, because I'm such a dental nerd. And I really do feel like there's a soulful side of this whole thing. So I am definitely a blend between soul and science. So as I start to uncover like these leadership qualities that people were honestly complaining about, I'm like, well, that is who I am. And that is true. And so I started to see things and understand, okay, I have what I call a soul print. I have these things about me, this fiery side of me, this ambitious side of me, this freedom loving side of me, this passionate side of me that I cannot change about me. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't. And actually, when I tried too hard, I realized I'm like, well, I'm just not being me, and it just didn't feel right. But then I saw this side that was almost like environmentally influenced. And it almost felt like, okay, yes, you are this way, but just because you are this way doesn't give you this like green light to just do whatever you want, right? You also have to take responsibility for how you show up in the world. So I kind of categorize like all these things. One is the soul print, and the other one is your responsibility in the universe, and combining them together. And when you do that, that's how you live in this aligned space. So I went back to what felt right first. I went back to astrology because I felt like, okay, I was born on this day for a reason. So I want to understand my sun sign, my rising sun, and my rising moon. And I'm a Sagittarius sun. I'm a Capricorn rising, and I'm an Aries moon. And when you understand those things, like I read like a book, I'm like, how did they write this book about me? And they didn't even know me, right? But your sun sign reveals your core essence, your true personality. Okay. Your rising sun explains how the world perceives you. And then your moon sign actually characterizes your emotional state of being, your emotional side, which totally makes sense. So if you think about it, this is totally me. So as a Sagittarius, I am a truth seeker. 100%. I'm like such a woman of principle, and all I want to hear is truth, like no bullshit. Like tell it to me straight, tell it to my face. Okay. I'm also a natural teacher, which makes sense. I really do love teaching. And I want to explore and expand. Like growth is such a huge core value of mine. Like I'm always like, how do I just keep learning? Like I am a Sagittarius to a T. I am a freedom lover. I love to travel and I'm incredibly passionate. Like that is the Sagittarius definition. I always resonated with being a Sagittarius, but not so much Capricorn rising. But I came to find out that I am Capricorn rising. And again, this is how the world sees you, and people see me as ambitious, grounded, and strong. It also a Capricorn rising is also the good soldier. Okay, so people can count on me to get things done, which can sometimes be a little frustrating, but that is definitely my personality. And my Aries moon, this is my emotions. This is how I handle my emotions. And I feel things fast and I feel things fiercely. And this is where I feel that passion. I am a passionate feeler. And I do like to hide that because that can be a really vulnerable place to be in. But I think it's really kind of crazy how, if you think about it, that these things exist based on your time and place of birth. So I started to go a little bit deeper on how I was defined astrologically. That was like step one. Then I started to learn about my human design. And I didn't know what human design was until a few years ago. And some of you may not know what human design is. And human design is a system that combines astrology, the I Ching, and the chakra system and quantum physics to show you how your specific energy works. It tells you how to make aligned decisions. And I think this is one thing that can be so skipped over and so unconscious. Like, but if we are conscious of our human design, it will change your freaking life because it definitely did for me. It helps you understand how you, in particular, process energy. And for me as a dentist that's around all this energy all the time, I I needed to understand this. It's really the human design system is really teaching you how you are supposed to interact with the world. You're basically an energetic system. So I'm a 5-1 generator specifically. So based on your time and place of birth, you will be able to find out what you are. So what does this mean for me? Well, it means that I'm built for mastery and service, which again totally explains me. And I can be like an energizer bunny cuz I can literally go go go, but that thing has to truly light me up. But I can also burn out really really fast. And so, but that's a sign to me. When I burn out really, really fast, that tells me I shouldn't be doing that. But I do love when I love something, I can just keep going at it. The fifth line, so there's a lot in depth to the human design, and I think I'm going to probably spend a few episodes on just human design and hopefully get some fun guest speakers on here just to really go deep in the human design. But I have a fifth line, and so that fifth line tells me that I'm a natural problem solver. Again, that makes me a go-to person for people to just go to. Oh, Chops, she'll know. We'll just go to her and ask her. She'll solve the problem. I actually am really good at solving problems, which again can be a good thing or a bad thing. And then the first line gives me that deep desire to do like research. and really understand and teach. So here I am, like I unconsciously got to where I am, not knowing any of these reasons, but somehow my inner compass has always connected me to these things. But now that I'm like actually really grateful for all the people who called me out on my shit and made me kind of feel bad, but that's okay. They called me out, and I'm going to say they called me out with love. They wouldn't have called me out if they didn't love me and wanted to help me. And so they were just my mirrors. They were my reflections in this world to say, hey, why don't you take a look inside and see why you are the way that you are? And when you know and you have that awareness and you're more conscious of how you're showing up, then it's just easier for you to kind of turn things on and off in the world to so that you can make sure you don't hurt somebody's feelings or you don't come at somebody too strong because maybe you understand their energetic level too. So we'll get to that when it comes to how I have made this work with me and my team. Now, another thing that I looked at was my gene keys. I will say that's one thing I'm still struggling to really comprehend. So I'm not going to really go there. But the gene keys is also another way that you could understand your soul print. So again, there's the zodiac, there's the human design, there's gene keys. And I feel like because those are things that are based on your time and place of birth, that defines your soul print. Okay. But then you have things like the Enneagram and you have things like the DISC assessment, which is a little bit more, I think, environmentally created. That this is, just how you come to be you, right? And so I'm an Enneagram 8. We discussed the soul print, and now we have the things that actually shape your behavior because there are things that there are environmental factors that are going to influence you. I will say that I'm not the same person that like graduated dental school. No, I think the real world shaped me into who I am. And sometimes I can be a little harsh and sometimes I can be not as soft as I wish I could be. But by understanding my personality and how I show up and how I handle energy, I've been able to really start to soften. So the first thing that I started to learn about myself was when I got a practice coach, and that practice coach came into my practice and said, "Okay, what is your DISC assessment?" Well, I'm a high D, which means I have a dominant personality. So the DISC is a behavioral assessment, helps you understand how you operate in the workplace. Okay. It breaks down your tendencies. So the D stands for dominance, the I stands for influence, the S stands for steadiness, and the C stands for conscientiousness. Okay. And it really is great to understand every single person on a team and which type they are. So you don't want a team that has so many D's because you'll just be kind of barking at each other. You don't want a team that's so many I's because you'll just be like having a party. You don't want a team that's all S's because you'll never get anything done. And you don't want a team that's all C's because you'll be contemplating for life. So your D's are your drivers. That's me. Okay. They are your dominant people on the team. They will get shit done. That is why I call myself a get shit doneist. Okay. Your eyes are your cheerleaders. They are your social beings. They're kind of like the glue. They keep the dominant people and the steady people kind of together. But they're great for, let's say, answering a phone and customer service. So I love having an eye answer my phone. Whenever I'm looking at what position I need to hire, I'm looking at their DISC assessment as well. Okay. So this is how I'm kind of mixing soul with business. It's kind of fun. So your D's are your drivers, they get shit done. Your I's are your social butterflies. They won't get anything done because they'll always want to party, but they're definitely essential for the team and they're great at customer service and sales calls. Okay. Your S's are your steadies. So they don't love change, but they're really great to have because they're the ones that are going to keep the ship afloat. Okay. You need S's. And then you have your C's who are really, they're almost like the perfectionists. They're contemplators. They're also great to have for like data entry. Okay. So again, they're great on the front desk because they're like entering all the the important information. They don't make mistakes. They do things really well. There is almost like a perfectionist tendency, but again, they can contemplate a lot. They can take a while to get things done. So some of you can also be a combination between a C and a D, which I think I am. I also have a high I. I don't have much S in me. Okay. But a nice S would be like maybe chair side, right? Somebody who's calm, soothing, and can be with a patient, right? And they have great bedside manner. So you can already see that these personalities are important in spreading out and sprinkling through the workplace. And as you start to uncover your own characteristics and you start to understand the tendencies and the characteristics of your team, everyone on the team will start to feel heard a little bit more. And I think that's one of the things that was really important part of my team's growth. They felt like they felt heard. Okay. So this is a really cool project to like uncover with yourself, okay, but also with your team. It's also great to do with your children. It's also great to do with your spouse because your spouse could be completely different, which happens in my family. So I'm also an Enneagram 8. Okay. So again, an Enneagram is another personality system that reveals why you do what you do. The Enneagram is based on 9 core types, and it basically helps you understand your triggers, like when you're kind of in your shadow, when you're working in your light, and really what motivates you. I'm an Enneagram 8. It's also known as the challenger. We value strength, we value control. Again, we value justice, which is kind of matched to my truth seeker. I'm a woman of principle. As an 8, our real work in life is to trust to be vulnerable. That's probably our hardest thing, and to trust others. Like trust is like, oh, such a hard one for us. We always feel like we can do things better. We can scare the shit out of people. Some people really find us to be hard leaders. That can be also as a mother. Like I can be portrayed as a hard mother to my children. And I will say that learning how to be a softer leader has been one of my biggest challenges, but also one of the most fun parts of the journey, but I'm still working on it. So I think it's been really interesting to uncover that, like, I'm an Enneagram 8, but it's kind of connected to being a D on the disc. And so that driver has been really interesting to be. And once you uncover that about yourself and you realize how it impacts the people around you, you've got to learn to navigate that personality trait of yours. But again, I love these systems because it first creates the awareness and then it allows you to kind of shapeshift a little bit and then navigate a little bit more smoothly in life. Now, I'm married to an Enneagram 5 who is the thinker, who loves to sit and contemplate. Matter of fact, I walked into my husband and I thought he was listening to a call. And I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm contemplating." I'm like, "Figures." It was really funny. That is my marriage. I am a D driver and I'm married to a thinker. He's also a C on the disc, so he gets really lost in contemplation, that analysis paralysis, which if you think about it is the polar opposite of a D dominant driver Enneagram 8. So things can work. I remember when I was supposed to when I was getting married, before I was getting married, my mom went to the priest and was like, "Hey, read their stars together." And he must have looked and saw like because he was like, "Nope, they're not a good match. They really shouldn't get married." But here we are 17 years later and we're still doing it. There's been some bumps, but we're still doing it. But it's interesting if you can understand your own personality trait plus your spouse's and your children's. They all come with an Enneagram and they all have their spot on the disc assessment. So understand how you show up, understand how the people around you show up, talk about it. See how like, okay, like here I was where everyone was like, "Why do you keep coming at me?" I'm like, "I'm not trying to. I This is just who I am. I'm not coming to you this way because I'm upset with you. I'm also not coming at you because I'm mad at you. This is just how I do it, right?" And At the same time, there were things that other people would do to me that I'm like, "Ugh, like, why are you doing it that way?" But once I understood how they are in the world naturally, how they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to show up, and like when they do that, they're actually in alignment. And when I give them that space to be who they truly are, all of a sudden things shift. And I'm like, okay, I don't take that personally. And now that everyone knows that I'm an 8 and I'm a D, they don't take me being short as personal. They're like, oh, Dr. Chopra's not mad at me. She's just like focused on something, and she just told me something matter of fact because she's very matter of fact. It doesn't have to be a negative. So you'll see a lot of these things get uncovered and almost makes life easier. So I just think that this is really important because the more that I started to understand my soul print, the more I understood why people would get upset. But also, the more I understood my design, the more I understood how people were perceiving me. But also, I stopped trying to be someone I'm not, if that makes sense, because people were asking me to make these changes. Instead, I can be somebody, the person that I'm supposed to be, the person that I'm aligned to be, but I can also recognize when I'm in shadow versus light. And I can always make that shift and be more conscious about being in my light. And I sometimes fall back into my triggers and my bad patterns. But the more that I'm conscious about it, the more that I have the intention to stay in my light, the more I can course correct a lot faster. So, true leadership is really integrating your soul print, your patterns, and your choices. It's who you are, how you've adapted, right? And also who you're becoming. And that's what I think unlocking these little layers of yourself helps you understand and helps you in that becoming. So I'm really excited to talk more about the human design and our astrology and more about leadership because I do think, like I said, my burnout made me understand so much about myself. And if you're finding yourself in a place where you're stuck, confused, like take a minute. Like I have just really felt like having this stillness in my life to just take a minute to stop the rat race and think about what all of these things that are happening to me, that I think are happening to me, are saying to me. They're coming to me for a purpose because they're actually happening for me. And they're asking me to stop and pause and just be in that stillness. Stillness has been like this really big lesson for me in the past couple months. Just be still and just think. Ask yourself, what is the lesson here? What is showing up for me today? What is coming into my awareness? Who am I being and who am I supposed to become? So I just want to remind you that you don't need to become someone else to lead powerfully. Okay. You just need to remember who you are. I really hope that this podcast gives you a glimpse into how you can connect with your soul print and that how you can understand your patterns can evolve. The world doesn't need more polished leaders. The world needs more authentic ones. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me and understanding my journey and my becoming. And I hope that this takes you a little bit deeper on your journey. If you like this episode, I would love for you to subscribe to this podcast. It is a new little adventure of mine, and I would love to connect with you more. And if you have it in you, please send me a message, maybe on Instagram at Dr. Sonia Chopra. I would love to know more of the things that you want to hear about. I'm excited to go deeper with you on University of Why podcast. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you so very soon.